Hello and welcome to Psychgeist, where we talk about the psychology of the era, the science of games. I am your host, Dr. Rachel Kowert, and on today's episode of Research Review, we're going to take a deeper dive into the 2020 Bryter reports on female gamers. For the last few years, Bryter has released annual reports about female players of digital games. In 2018, they released their first female gamer study with females from the UK. In 2019, it was expanded to include players from the UK and the US. And in 2020, they looked at female and male gamers and explored new areas, including toxicity and esports in more detail. According to Bryter, their focus on female players in their reports is because, quote, females are an important audience, accounting for nearly half of gamers. Louder for those in the back, female are an important audience when it comes to digital gameplay. In 2020, they surveyed over 2,000 game players in the UK and the US, all aged 16 or over. They documented basic demographic data such as age, ethnicity, average playtime, and consoles owned. But for me, the really interesting part of the report starts when we look at gaming behaviors and the differences between male and female gaming behaviors. When looking at how males and females play, fewer females said they played online, 51% as compared to 67% of male counterparts, and significantly more said they played alone offline, 32% as compared to 24% of their male counterparts. The authors of the survey actually leave some lingering questions in this section, including, is playing with others too intimidating, or does it relate to the genres that they play? While it may be somewhat related to genres, females did report playing fewer tactical shooters, for example, which tend to be online multiplayer games. I think it is far more related to the historical mistreatment of female players in games and gaming cultures. For more on that, see my previous State of the Research on Girl Gamer and toxicity in games and gaming cultures. The survey also reported that 1 in 3 female players do not consider themselves proper gamers. They were less likely to report games play an important part in their lives, less likely to report games are a tool to connect them with others, less likely to stay updated with gaming news, and less likely to describe themselves as a quote-unquote hardcore gamer. In a previous video, I've talked about how gamer is a social identity. It isn't so much related to the genres you play, how many hours you invest, but how connected you feel to the greater community of gamers. For me, it's not surprising to see the results here that fewer females consider themselves proper gamers, hardcore gamers, as compared to males. This has actually been replicated in a whole host of other studies that have found females are less likely to identify as gamers more generally, and again is likely related to the historical conceptualization and compartmentalization of girl game players. Also supporting previous research, the Bryter report reports that there's a significant amount of harassment and abuse that happens in online gaming spaces. Where this report differs, however, is they are one of the few here to compare experiences between male and female players. Both male and female players report experiencing harassment while playing online, most regularly from other male players. The males surveyed in this study also reported a greater proportion of experiencing regular abuse from players. Although not surprisingly, females reported greater rates of being sent inappropriate content, sexual harassment, and exclusion. Males were also more likely than females to report abuse in video games to be a, quote, unavoidable part of gaming. Come on. We can do better. But this goes to show you how ingrained toxicity, abuse, dark participation, whatever you want to call it, how ingrained it is in gaming cultures. Both males and females reported they believe there are inadequate processes to deal with this kind of behavior in games. The 2020 Bryter report was also the first of their reports to discuss esports and streaming. In regards to streaming, about a quarter to 1/3 of those surveyed reported that they believe there were not enough female streamers, that a lot of streaming content is sexist or misogynistic, and there is a lot of toxicity/discrimination in online games and streaming. Personally, I would have actually expected those numbers to be higher, but regardless, it further reiterates that there's a lot of work to do in this space. With esports, the differences between males and females remain, specifically in terms of how welcoming the community is perceived to be. More females reported that they would feel intimidated or uncomfortable going to an esports tournament, that there's a lack of diversity in esports, there's a specific lack of female gamers in esports, and that the gaming community is not doing enough to encourage female players in esports. Probably again goes back to the historical mistreatment of women in this space. Last but not least, the Bryter report asks some questions about the industry and representation in games and gaming characters. Unsurprisingly, males were more likely to report that they can relate to in-game characters, while females largely feel that female characters are lacking. I mean, who can't relate to Fran or Rikku? Or, sorry, all my examples are Final Fantasy examples. All in all, this is a really good report that provides a lot of insights into the perception and experiences of games within gaming cultures. It also really highlights these issues of toxicity and discrimination in gaming cultures generally, but also specifically in streaming and in esports. I highly recommend checking it out if you're interested in learning more about the state of it all in 2020, especially from the specific viewpoint of female game players. If you like this video and want to see more, please like and subscribe. And until next time, be excellent to each other and always cite your sources.